bata. Mainit talaga ako. Hindi ko lang masabi sir kung paano ko martilyuhin ang mga kamay niyan. I cannot just portray, hindi ako nagyayabang, pero magtanong ka na lang ng pulis ka man. Minamartilyo ko talaga yung...
Thank you, Mr. President. Would I be correct as my last question? Kayo po yung naniniwala na sa Machiavellian principle that the end justify the means?
Unfortunately, sir, rightly or wrongly, I believe
In that Machiavellian principle. Marami pong salamat, Mr. President.
there's no other way to deal with criminals except to instill fear. Pag hindi ka nare-respeto ng kriminal, walang mangyayari sa iyo. Alam mo, sir, we have to start with the elementary thing. The law enforcement starts with the police. So he goes out there, enforces the law. If there is a violation, he makes the arrest. If there is an arrest made and there is a resistance, no person na inaaresto niya, and talaga nakita niya na it is a very serious one, the police, the trabaho of the police is not only to say that I am a police, that you are under arrest, but the police has to overcome the resistance physically. If there is a resistance, bugbugin na niya o anong para madala niya sa estasyon pagkalumaban and book him for the crime that the guy committed. Kasi pag lumaban yan, magsuntukan talaga, minsan nababatuta. And the police is right in making that arrest if there is a resistance. This is not to defend the police. Pero kung sila mismo, naalanganin na sila, o yung may raid, tapos may baril, hindi na kailangan sila magtanong ng ano, walang kaseremonya yan. It's either we say, you surrender, raid ito, at may maling galaw, the slightest move on the hand, even if it is equivocal kung ano ang dinudukot niya, basta may baril, the police can kill the person.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. Now, that's given, for example, that scenario, no? Would you say, Mr. Chair, that I agree with you, talagang may karapatan yung mga pulis mo mang depensa, no? Even hindi lang ho pulis, no, Mr. Chair. Even yung mga ordinary tao, if you feel threatened, talagang you have the right to defend yourself. But again, going back, Mr. Chair, doon sa issue ng EJK, because this is what I'm trying to understand, Mr. Chair.
extrajudicial killing, sir?
Yes po.
Sige,
Okay.
okay.
This is what I'm trying to understand po, Mr. Chair.
Let's
no?
zero in on that issue, sir.
Yes po. The reason why I'm asking you this, Mr. Chair, is, again, remember po, Mr. Chair, I premised my question on the very basic principle of the rule of law, due process, and etc. So the question is, of course, tayo po, it's easier for us to accuse, no? And it's only for the courts to really find out whether that person is really guilty of committing such crimes or not.
Correct.
Now, and earlier, tinanong ko po kayo, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, kung ano po yung mga lapses ng criminal justice system natin, and you have mentioned several, no? Kaya nga po ang tanong ko, binabalikan ko po, kasi this is the contention of the discussion right now, is it justifiable, for example, that those who's the power to designate, for example, if a person is guilty or not in certain crimes, can also be taken up. Justice can also be taken up by ordinary policemen or any ordinary citizens to kill anybody charged of any criminalities without even allowing them to go to courts, no? Kasi that would be inimical again po to the due process and to the rule of law, and diametrically opposed to the rule of to the democratic processes that we have. That's what I'm trying po, Mr. President, to understand. Kasi this is all about EJK. And unfortunately, in the previous administration po, with all due respect, there are several also allegations of those who are not been suspected of engaged in illegal drug activities that have also perished during the actual operation of our police. Yun lang po yung gusto kong malaman so that I can also be elucidated on how we go forward in trying to introduce some laws or amend some laws, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President.
Hindi na kailangan, sir. Wrongfully killing a person is a crime. Kaya nga, hindi na kailangan na magsabi tayo na itong police na ito. If pinatay niya yan, sir, not in the performance of a duty, not making an arrest, and there is no resistance at all, papatayin mo ang tao, unarmed, nakatali ang paa, pati nakatali ang kamay, that policeman belongs to the penitentiary.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, earlier, Mr. Chair, one of my colleagues here asked...
Congressman Adjong, you have 2 more minutes.
Okay, thank
So
you.
let's
I will
please,
wrap up.
wrap up.
I will wrap up. Mr. Chair, earlier, Mr. Chair, one of my colleagues here mentioned about in 2013, there was a study that came out po. It was a study came out placing Davao City as one of the safest cities in the world, no? Even surpassing on the city of Ontario and Tokyo and some. That was during your incumbency, Mr. Chairman, no, Mr. President, no? In 2013, you were still a mayor at that time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So placing Davao City as one of the safest cities in the world. Do you attribute that, the study, the research that was conducted, do you attribute that to the number of arrests or the dispensation of justice for the operation of the courts, or do you attribute that to the EJ case, Mr. Chair, Mr. President?
Killing cannot be a solution to all of these things that we have to deal with in life. Yung ako ang mayor, sir, alam nila, when I was a prosecutor, alam na nila, including the police. Alam na ng police. Takot ang police sa akin kasi wala akong patawad. Alam na ng taong Davao na pagka ikaw ay nagkasala, talagang walang akong patawad. Hindi ako nagpapabor ng police, sir. Pag nagkamali ang police, ako mismo. At ako mismo ang nagbubugbog sa police. Tanong ka ng, nandito man si, ako mismo ang bumibiran ng police pagka inaano nila yung sibilyan na what for every reason, layo na maglasing, magbugbog ng asawa. Pag pumunta yan sa City Hall, sir, talagang black and blue yan. Sipa, suntok.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I take that as yung...
Ganun ang disiplina, sir, sa pulis ko. Hindi ko pinagyayabang. Kasi may baril yung pulis eh. Kaya lang, alam nila may kasalanan sila. Kung mo basta-basta gawin yan sa basta na lang. Pero ganun ang practice ko. Pinubugbog ko talaga.
Mr. Chair, I have here po the ito pong ranking ninyo, pang 12 po ang Davao the safest. Let me go back to the question po, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. Ang gusto ko lang pong malaman is, of course, there are criteria, again, for...
Yes, sir.
There are criteria for Davao City to land 12 spot, no, among the safest. I wasn't really asking about how the former president and the former mayor dealt with the airing cops in his city. I was just asking about the study that was conducted. I'm sure hindi po you're very proud of, lahat naman to magiging proud po kasi safest city. I just like to ask po the former president, would he attribute this accomplishment to the killings of criminals, alleged criminals in the streets, no? Itong EJK, would he attribute that to the number of arrests or the fast dispensation of justice in the operation of the courts in Davao City?
Walang criminal kasi, sir, kasi nag-warning ako. Pag sinabi ko, when I became mayor, I'll give you 48 hours to pack up and disappear. Yan ang warning ko. Ngayon, after 48 hours, pag nakita kita,
Ano po?
Tabla na.
Ano pong mangyayari after 48 hours pag nakita niyo po sila?
Yun ang hindi ko masagot, sir, sa iyo. Kasi gusto mo akong makulong, sir?
Hindi ho. Tinatanong ko lang ho kasi this is how you run.
Akala ko kaibigan tayo.
And Mr. Chair, Mr. President, I know that you've taken your job as mayor seriously. That's why I'm asking how did you able to manage to keep, crimes at a very low level po in those times. Kasi I also link this with the case of extrajudicial killings which you admittedly po kanina po na sinasabi ordering the police
Nangyari yan,
killing.
sir.
I just want to put in everything into context so that I can understand. Now, Mr. Chair, for my final question, I believe I'm wrap up. For my final questions, earlier, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, you also mentioned you were asked also bakit you resorted to ordering the police pag nanglaban, patayin, pag ano, kasi tapos ang response niyo po, I think it was Congresswoman Franz Castro who asked that question. And you responded to her na kasi medyo masikip na sa kulungan. Kaya para mas maluwag-luwag, patayin na lang yung iba, no? That's what I heard, Mr. President. So that I took that as the response of the President because that's what the response from the President. Now, I'm just curious po, Mr. President. For 6 years po, you were President, no? 17th and 16th, and I guess in 17th Congress, you were the President at that time. And there were several bills that were proposed by this Congress to reinstate the yung capital punishment, yung death penalty. First for heinous crimes and other illegal for illegal drug related crimes, no? And I believe the lead chairman of this committee, Congressman Ace Barbers, was one of the authors of those bills. I'm just curious, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, why didn't you put the weight of Malacanang to support that bill? Why haven't you certified that as an urgent bill?
Wala pa ako sa Malacanang, sir.
Ano po?
Wala pa ako sa Malacanang.
It was proposed po during your incumbency as president. That would have been a perfect opportunity for your administration to really fight criminalities, especially those who have been convicted of illegal drug crimes. So I'm just wondering po, Mr. Chair, that was the opportunity. Has there been any talks in Malacanang that such 7 bills that were introduced during the 16 or 17 Congress under your incumbency? In fact, I mentioned earlier, former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo was here. I vividly recall when the voting was ongoing, President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo voted not to pass the reinstituting of the criminal offense of death penalty. So I'm just wondering po, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, that was televised po all over the country. Why didn't you put your weight, the Malacanang's weight, and maybe to certify this as an urgent bill?
Asking my honest opinion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr.
You
President.
restore the death penalty.
I'm sorry
Mas
po.
mabuti po, ibalik ninyo ang death penalty.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you po, Mr. Chair. In fact, in my own Sharia law, although it's not recognized by the Philippine judiciary, there's no criminal component on the PD 1083, but I do support, death penalty personally as a policy. Death penalty for certain crimes, heinous crimes, rape, etc.
Heinous.
I'm just heinous crimes. And I'm just curious po, Mr. Chair, and I want to understand from the perspective of the President, when he served as President for 6 years and 2 Congresses passed during his tenure as President, there were several bills introduced by the House of Representatives, one of which the authors is actually here, sitting there as a lead chairman. Why hasn't the President put the weight of Malacanang to push this further and make it as a law?
Yes, sir. Ang problema ang Congress, hindi mo kontrolado eh. In a Congress, it's a conglomeration of human. Some are libertarians, some are hardliners, some are mild-mannered. But on the average, sir, hindi mainit ang ulo. Hindi, well, exception, naging congressman rin ako. Pero iba ang ano ko, sir, because I've been trained as a prosecutor kasi for a long time. And besides, I was also teaching to augment my income Kasi wala naman akong masyadong pera nung nag-asawa ako. Was teaching criminal law and criminal evidence. So malapit talaga ako dyan sa crime. At stricto ako dahil nga natuturo ako. Alam ng pulis yan. Pati yung pulis na yan, wala yan silang patawad.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'd like to end my time, Mr. Chair, with the manifestation, if I may be allowed, Mr. Chair.
Very quickly.
Thank you. Very quickly, Mr. Chair. I was listening to the responses of the former president, and there are some allegations that were made today, which I believe the former president challenged anybody or any group to bring that to the courts. And that challenge, Mr. Chair, I take it as a form of the president's believing in the rule of law. I'm just believing in the rule of law and the operation of our courts.
When there is two issues, sir, and we cannot understand each other, we go to court.
Yeah, I commend you on that, no, for saying that. I hope, Mr. Chair, that the same should have been also accorded and should have been also been extended to those who died in the streets. I believe the former president, by just encouraging anybody, any individual to go to court and file these cases, because I believe that's the proper venue for that.
Sir, there are independent investigations, investigative bodies. It is not only the police. You can rely on the NBI, the Human Rights Commission, and others. You can tap anybody there to help in the enforcement of the law against itong sabi mong illegal killings of criminals, or what they would call yung sa ating parlance ngayon as salvaging.
Yeah, thank you.
Congressman Adjong,
Again,
yes.
let me just put an end to my statement, Mr. Chair, if I may be allowed. Again, that encouragement from the former president to bring these cases to the courts, it's actually a manifestation that all of us here, even the former president, believes in the rule of law. And I hope, Mr. Chair, that out of the 33,000 or 2,000 or thousands who have died, sana nabigyan din ho sila ng ganong, they were also have accorded with the same privilege of, under the law, of innocence until proven guilty. It's only the court that can assign anybody whether that person is criminal, because there are corresponding crimes and with the corresponding punishment according to our law. So, Mr. Chair, I will end that with that manifestation because I do not want, Mr. Chair, to be honest with you, to be honest to everybody here, I do not want the cycle of violence, no matter the intention, because I've lived that, I've seen that, and I know it will bring no good to everyone. I don't want EJK, I don't want the cycle of violence to happen. Mr. Chair, thank you very much, and maayong
Thank you very
gabi.
much.
Dagang salamat, Mr. President.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Chair.
much.